Most people searching for walkable Chicago neighborhoods immediately jump to the usual suspects. Lakeview, Lincoln Park, Wicker Park, Logan Square, maybe West Loop, if the budget allows it. And look, those neighborhoods are popular for a reason. But if you only look at the famous names, you might completely miss some Chicago neighborhoods where daily life is way more walkable than people expect. Today, we're talking about 5 Chicago neighborhoods with surprising walkability. River West, Albany Park, Bridgeport, Rogers Park, and West Ridge. I want to be clear right away. This is not a spreadsheet video. I'm not going to drown you in scores and charts. This is about real daily life. You can walk to coffee. You can grab groceries without turning every errand into a car trip. Is there transit nearby? You can bike somewhere useful. And maybe the biggest question, what's the catch?
What's the catch?
Because every walkable Chicago neighborhood has a trade-off. And some of these trade-offs are exactly what buyers miss when they only look at the listing online. Let's start with River West, because this might be the best example of a neighborhood people don't always know how to categorize. River West sits in this in-between zone where people mentally lump it into River North, West Loop, and Fulton Market, Ukrainian Village, or even just that area by the highway. That is exactly why it belongs in this video. River West has a useful, walkable layout if your life is centered around downtown access, biking, restaurants, bars, coffee, and getting around without constantly defaulting to a car. The public walkability numbers back that up. 88 walk score, 80 transit score, and 92 bike score. But the real story is not the score. The real story is that you can be close to downtown, close to the Blue Line, close to Milwaukee Avenue, Energy, close to the river, and close to multiple neighborhood edges without living directly in the middle of River North or West Loop. That is the upside. Now, here is the honest trade-off. River West has some chaos baked into it. The expressway, busy streets, and construction in a central location where a lot of people are passing through. With the Bally's permanent casino planned nearby, that trade-off could get more noticeable. This does not make River West a bad pick. It means you need to know what kind of urban energy you're buying into. The walkability and bikeability are strong, but if you need a clean accessibility setup every day, check the exact route from the building to transit, groceries, sidewalks, crossings, elevators, before falling into love with the location. If you want access, bikeability, and downtown convenience, River West is a serious sleeper pick. But if you want calm, tucked away, tree-lined neighborhood energy, or if you need a cleaner accessibility setup every day, you need to be very honest with yourself before falling in love with the location. A quick pause here. If you are watching this because you're trying to figure out where you actually fit on the Chicago map, this is where real estate part matters. Use the QR code on the screen right up here. Or you can go link in the description and schedule a real estate consult with me. It's a low-pressure conversation where we can talk through your budget, commute, lifestyle, accessibility needs, and if that applies, and what kind of urban environment actually fits your lifestyle, not just what looks good online. Next up is Albany Park, and this one is not flashy walkability. This is a practical walkability. Albany Park is the kind of neighborhood where the value is not always obvious from a glossy YouTube thumbnail or a quick weekend visit. But when you actually look at the daily life, there's a lot working here. You've got Brown Line access, neighborhood restaurants, global food, local shops, grocery options, and a street life that feels lived in, instead of overly curated. And this is not the same type of walkability as Lincoln Park or Lakeview. It is less polished, less expensive feeling, and more grounded. And for a lot of people, that is the whole point. The surprise with Albany Park is that it can give you the bones of a useful urban lifestyle without feeling like you're paying the prestige tax of the more famous Northside neighborhoods. For accessibility, Albany Park may be a stronger starting point than some of the neighborhoods on this list. And if your daily life is built around the right Brown Line station, bus route, and corridor, and this is still block by block, The station might work, but the exact walk from the station to the condo, grocery store, or restaurant still needs to be checked. Some blocks feel much more connected than others, and some areas are going to feel more convenient to the Brown Line, and some are going to feel more bus-oriented. And some may not give you the exact daily routine you imagined. So this is not a neighborhood where I would say, just buy anywhere and you'll be fine. The exact location really, really matters here. But if you find the right pocket, Albany Park can be one of those neighborhoods where you realize, wait a second, I can actually live a pretty walkable life here without chasing the most obvious names on the Chicago map. Now let's go south and talk about Bridgeport, because this is where people who only know the north side of Chicago might be surprised. Bridgeport is not usually the first neighborhood people bring up when they want to say, I want walkability. But if you actually spend time there, you can see the appeal. You have local restaurants and neighborhood bars, coffee spots, parks, access towards the Orange Line, depending on where you are, and a strong neighborhood identity that was not created by a marketing department. Bridgeport still has older neighborhood bones, local restaurants, two flats, side streets, parks, and commercial corridors that do not feel like they were built for Instagram. The reason it fits this list is that the walkability is not always obvious from the outside. It's not one giant entertainment district. It's more about pockets, corridors, and knowing where your daily life is going to happen. That's also the catch. Bridgeport can be very local dependent. And if you're in the right section, you can have a useful neighborhood routine. If you are in the wrong section for your needs, you may end up using the car more than expected. And accessibility is the same story. Bridgeport may work well if you're close to the right transit, bus route, grocery option, and sidewalk network, but you cannot assume the whole network functions equally. So for buyers, the lesson here is simple. Do not just search Bridgeport and assume every block works the same way. Look at the exact block, the exact transit option, the exact walk to food, coffee, parks, and groceries. When the location lines of Bridgeport can give you a lot of urban life without feeling like you are following the same overcrowded neighborhood script as everyone else. Next is Rogers Park, and this one has very different kind of surprise. Rogers Park is one of the few Chicago neighborhoods where you can talk about walkability, lakefront access, transit, and relative value in the same conversation. Can you believe that? That is not easy to find. A lot of lakefront neighborhoods get expensive quickly, especially once you combine train access, neighborhood retail, restaurants, and parks, and the ability to live near the water. Rogers Park gives you lakefront access without the same Lakeview feel. It's further north, a little looser around the edges, and that is part of the trade-off. You have Red Line access, Metro access, depending on your location, local restaurants, Loyola Energy, my university, Go Ramblers right up here. A neighborhood feel that is very different from Lakeview or Lincoln Park. This is not a neighborhood pretending to be something else. It has its own rhythm. For accessibility, Rogers Park may also be stronger starting point if the step-free train access matters, but I would still verify the exact station elevator status, route to the building, and route to the lakefront or grocery corridor before assuming it works. Now, the catch is distance. Rogers Park is far north. If your entire life is downtown, West Loop, or the central core, you need to be honest about your commute tolerance. And some people will love that separation because it feels like its own lakefront pocket inside Chicago. Other people will feel like it's too far from the center of their life. That is why Rogers Park works well for the right buyer and not for everyone. If you want lake access, neighborhood texture, transit, and a more relaxed version of urban living, Rogers Park should be on your radar. Now let's talk about West Ridge, and this is the one where, I want to be most careful. West Ridge is not the obvious pick, and it's not the neighborhood that I would describe as effortless, car-free living. that would be overselling it. But this video is not about the easiest car-free neighborhoods. In Chicago, this video is about surprising walkability, and West Ridge has that in a very specific way. The walkability here is more corridor-based. Think about areas near Devon, Western California, and pockets where daily errands, restaurants, groceries, and local services start to stack together. This is a neighborhood where the car can have a useful walking lifestyle if your routine is built around the right corridor. But if you buy too far from that corridor, or you assume the entire neighborhood functions the same way, you may be disappointed. The big idea here is important. A neighborhood can be walkable without being the easiest neighborhood to live completely car-free. West Ridge proves that distinction. West Ridge has useful daily life corridors, especially around Devon, Western in California, but it also doesn't behave like a classic L-centered neighborhood. Accessibility here needs even more careful route planning because this is more bus and corridor oriented than L, train oriented. Doesn't mean that you cannot work. It just means you need to look at the sidewalk condition, crossings, bus route, curb cuts, distance to errands, and the building entrance before you assume the daily routine will be easy. So for buyers, this is a study the exact pocket neighborhood. You don't need to fall in love with a property because the price looks better than other north side options. Ask yourself, where am I walking? Where is my grocery store? Where is my bus? Where is my coffee? Where am I going after work? If those answers are close, West Ridge can surprise you. If they're not, then it may feel more car dependent than the title of this video would suggest. And so the big takeaway is this: the best walkable neighborhood for you is not always the most famous one. Sometimes it's the neighborhood where actual daily routine works. River West gives you central access, biking, and downtown convenience, but you need to respect the casino, construction, traffic, and accessibility trade-offs that may come with it. Albany Park gives you practical daily life and a brown line access. But the pocket matters. Bridgeport gives you neighborhood identity and surprising usefulness, but location also matters there. Rogers Park gives you lakefront access, transit, and relative value, but you need to be comfortable being a little bit farther north. And West Ridge gives you the corridor-based walkability, but you cannot confuse that with effortless car-free living. One more important accessibility point before I wrap. If step-free transit is a major part of your daily life, Rogers Park and Albany Park may be stronger starting points on this list, while River West, Bridgeport, and West Ridge need more block-by-block due diligence. Does not make one neighborhood good and the other one bad. It just means walkability is not one size fits all. Walkability is not a score. It's not how your life actually functions. Once you close the laptop, leave the listing page, and step outside of your front door, drop a comment below and tell me which of these neighborhoods surprised you the most, or which Chicago neighborhood you think I missed. I'm AD, of course, your real estate professional focused on urbanism, and I'm going to see you on that next video.